Welcome to Greenpop's Eco Education Hub. A very special space for Greenpop. This used to be just nothing, it used to be a dump. 5 years ago, Greenpop kept their trees in a different location, and they got a phone call and said, listen here, there's been a water pipe burst, you need to find a space, and they gave people 1 day to find a new space. So Jeremy Loops came around and he phoned around and we found this place, and the first nursery manager turned it into what you see here today, basically single-handedly. This is where we store our trees, and also where I host the Eco Education Club of the school next door. So the kids come here and I teach them about environmental stewardship, and they just get their hands dirty and play with the bugs and stuff like that. So this is a really special space with a vibrant energy, and it just keeps you centered, I think. Yes. Follow me. Due to the heat and due to the drought, we've had to stop watering the whole garden. So what you see here hasn't had water for around 6 weeks, apart from the rain, of course. And most of it that's surviving is indigenous. So that is my top tip for gardening, is indigenous plants. And one of the most special ones is the speckboom, or elephant bush. It is the best plant at absorbing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in the entire world. And you can actually use it in salads as well. It's a very good source of vitamin C, and it's just a wonder to have around. Another really amazing tip that I have for gardening is this little plant here. It's a succulent. It's called the baby sun rose. It's the little flower. It's one of the plants we use when we plant our trees, and we use this as a living mulch. So doesn't use a lot of water, and it also keeps the water from evaporating too fast when you plant it underneath the trees. They're okay with wet conditions, they're okay with semi-shade, and they're okay with full sun, so it's just an amazing plant. This is one of my favorite features of the nursery, is the compost toilet. Now, it's totally changed my perception of what a compost toilet can be. How it works is there's a wheelie bin at the bottom, and you go up there and everybody does their business sitting down. And if you do a number one, just let it go, you don't have to do anything. But if your business is a little bit more serious, you just add a couple of cups of coffee husk or sawdust, and then Bob's your uncle. So then after it's full, we take it up there and we store it for about 18 months to 3 years, and then it can be used as compost. How awesome is that? This is our bokashi section. Now, bokashi is Japanese for compost, and what it is basically food scraps that we bring here. We add bokashi husk, which is full of microorganisms, and it breaks down the food, and we leave it in there for a month, and after that month we can use it in our compost heap and start brewing very, very nice, nutritious homemade compost. Now, if you don't believe me, when I said we stopped watering the garden, here's the evidence. But what is really interesting is the things that are still surviving even without the water. This is a fantastic plant to have in your garden. It's wild garlic. It makes beautiful purple flowers, and in summer times it may die back, but it's a bulb, so it comes back in winter time. These nasturtiums we use as a companion plant, so it creates a nice shady spot for the area underneath it, and it just helps deflect some of the bugs away from the beneficial plants. We've got some perennial basil that's doing amazingly, and these are marigolds, which is also a fantastic addition to any garden. Now, this is where all the magic happens. So after the bokashi has been brewing for a month, we chuck it in here, make like a little bit of a lasagna. So we use straw, we use some garden refuse, branches, leaves, grass, and then we use a bokashi and layer that and give it some water, and then cover this up and after 3 weeks, Bob's your uncle. Really nice, nutritious homemade compost. We harvested about 17 bags the other day, so it's just amazing being self-sufficient in that way. Another great tip for any garden is this sweet potato. Also, as you can see, it hasn't been watered at all, but it's still surviving. I planted it in the shade at home, and that really makes a nice covering. So it just covers the soil and makes it look nice. And something really nice, other tip that I want to give you is this. Now, this is not rubbish, it is sheep mulching. Now, another type of lasagna, you can see we love our Italian food at Greenpop. So on top of the soil, you put a layer of compost, then a layer of cardboard or some hard paper, and then some more compost, and you end off with some mulch. And then what you do when you plant is you make a little hole through the cardboard, and you plant in there, and you cover everything with your mulch. And then what that does, it's just really good at retaining water, so that you don't need to water that often, and in times like these your plants keep on surviving. And I just think that's one of the best tips I can give you. Now, two other examples of fantastic succulents that you could use. This one is called the sour fig, or vijgie in Afrikaans. The Khoisan use this as a type of medicine. So when you've got a cold sore or a sore in your mouth, you can just rub it on there, and it just helps the healing process. And this also works really well just to cover some bare patches of soil, and we use it a lot in planting our trees as living mulch. And the other one that we use is Plectranthus. Now, Plectranthus, the common name is lobster flower, and in Afrikaans it's called knoffelsalie, which translates to garlic sage. It's got a wonderful aroma, it's got beautiful purple flowers, and it also helps keep away some of the bugs and the pests. Now, this is our little indigenous section. I cannot stress enough how important it is to plant indigenous. Now, it is such a no-brainer, because indigenous, you don't need to water it ever unless it's being established. But once it's established, it doesn't require any water, it just fills out the space, and it just looks beautiful, attracts hummingbirds and indigenous insects, and just makes your garden so much more beautiful than this ideal of the English cottage garden that so many people are striving towards. I say local is lekker. And that's our space. This is our nursery, our Eco Education Hub. Thank you so much for coming here with us and for checking out what this space is all about. Hope to have you guys here soon.